Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. Hi, it's me, Vicky, again. And welcome to this video where I'm going to go through 3 questions that I was sent by my members about Spanish and living in Spain. Now, in case you don't know, if you become a member of my channel, if you have an interest in learning Spanish or an interest in maybe one day moving to Spain to live, the members, you can send me any questions you have to my email, which is Vicky Marie Chats, Vicky with an I, at gmail.com. It will come up later on the screen at some point. And in the last Friday of every month, I would do a video answering the questions that members have sent in. It's only $3.99 to be a member. It's cancelable anytime. You don't have to sign up for a minimum, it's 1 month. You pay for 1 month and then you decide each month whether you want to carry on. You don't have to sign up 6 months, 12 months, etc. And we do quite a few members' lives. Also, it means that you can join in the members' lives over on my True Crime channel as well. And a lot of people have quite enjoyed the crime videos. I know that's a complete distraction from Spanish or living in Spain, but it's what people are finding interesting. I can see that people are watching them, so I'll carry on doing them as long as people are watching them. Okay, so what were the 3 questions that I got that I'm going to look at today? So one question I was asked by a member was, how much does it cost to become a resident? Oh, look at my little dog's ears there. That's Riley. Oh, baby. How much does it cost to become a resident in Spain? So, of course, thanks to good old Brexit, one of our Brexit benefits, people didn't seem to realise that free movement moves both ways. And of course, since Brexit, we don't have free movement in Europe, and certainly not in Spain. We're only, if you're not, unless you're a resident. So a lot of people that are buying properties here or wanting to come over here to live, they have to become a resident if they want to spend, long periods of time here. Whereas before, people could come over for the whole winter if they wanted to, resident or not. Now, no, you can't. So you're restricted to the number of days that you can spend in one period in Spain. And then you can't come back for another period of days. It's just awful, really. Brexit was biggest act of self-harm of any nation, in my opinion. But anyway, it is what it is, as they say. Que Dios manda. Nothing we can do about it now. That's how it's going to be, though there are positive signs that the new Prime Minister is trying to, let's say, improve relationships with Europe. Because what we have to remember is we chose to leave Europe. They didn't throw us out. They didn't leave us. We left them. And they had to change all their systems. Everything. They had to change because of us. So they weren't very happy. Definitely noticed the difference in the way British people are treated in Spain than how they were treated before. And it's a little bit of like, they're almost upset. It's like, why? What's wrong with us? Why didn't you want to be part of Europe? That kind of thing. Anyway, as I say, it is what it is. This is where we are now. So if you want to buy a house in Spain, if you want to live in Spain, or if you want to come out to Spain for long periods, like the whole winter, for example, you have to be a resident. Otherwise, you're going to get problems. You have to go backwards and forwards. And of course, they stamp your passports, or now there'll be all new technology, whether they forget to stamp your passport or not. So now it's very convoluted, difficult process. Where it reminds me a little bit of when I first came to Spain. We've gone back in time, sort of 20 odd years. Was more complicated than becoming a resident. And then as things progressed with Europe, etc., it became much easier. till eventually really all you had to do was provide your passport and you were guaranteed a residency. Not so now, is it? You have to jump through hoops. Well, from next year, you'll even be needing a visa to come to Spain as a tourist. From, I think it's about October next year, apparently. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Maybe things will happen in between and that won't happen. But to become a resident, well, so I've been researching it a little bit. Now, I'm obviously lucky because I was already a resident. So it was just a matter of changing over the form, green form that I had for a TIE card, a residency card. It was relatively simple. I didn't have to provide all the things that people have, new applications. So I was looking online how much it costs. Well, you know, it seems to vary from business to business to what they charge. So there's what a business will charge to do it for you, because it is complicated. You know, you can try and do it yourself, of course, but if you don't speak Spanish and you don't know the system, that's going to be difficult. But I noticed that some places, like there's I'm not going to I'm not giving them giving any of them a free advert. I just I've got one place who's saying that for an adult applicant, they charge. This is what they charge. This is despite what you need, besides what you need to have in the bank to show as an income, all those things. This is what the actual business charges to deal with your TIE, and €495 per adult. A child under 18 is €295. So if you're a family of 4, you're looking at 2 adults, that's €900 more or less, 2 children, so you're looking at €1,500 more or less just for someone to apply for it for you. That's besides what you need to have in the bank, little bits of taxes you have to pay to the government, etc. And then there's another person. So this, I'm looking, you know, literally I've Googled how much does it cost to get residency in Spain, and these things have come up. So there's all different ones. Then I've got one that's €160 per person, as long as those residencies are made in a certain area, a residence application. So it's obviously the area that they deal with. But see, others will apply. You can apply to a company that will deal whichever part of Spain you're in or want to go to. Then we've got another company saying that the requirements and costs for British nationals to get residencies, your minimum income of financial means to cover 1 year of residency in Spain is €30,000 for a single person. So the thing is, when you apply for residency in Spain now, it never used to be the case, but it is now, because we have no reciprocal agreement now with Spain. So you have to prove that you can, you know, support yourself. You have to prove that you have a minimum income, a minimum amount of money in the bank. You have to take out private health insurance to show that you're not going to be a burden on the Spanish health service. All these kind of things that weren't, you know, you didn't need before. So I would say to someone, really, you know, you're looking at, really, you need, in my eyes, you're looking to apply for residency to live in Spain, you need about €40,000. You know, really, to be comfortable, because and also don't forget, you apply now, you only get your residency, I think it's for a year, then you have to apply again, or you have to sort of reapply to make sure all the circumstances are the same, you know, and then you get 2 years. I mean, I'm not sure of the exact details. If someone asks me a specific case, a member, remember, you have to be a member for me to answer your question on a video. I'm happy to look into a personal, you know, actually people's personal, individual is the word, not personal, individual needs, what they need to do. I'm just giving you on this video a general perspective on how much it costs. So you have to be aware of that. If you're wanting a non-working residence visa, then you're looking, I think, well, it says here the minimum required amount is equivalent to 400% of Spain's public multiple effects income indicator. So let's have a look. What is that? To give us an idea, I'll go into that one. Let's see. Yeah, you also need to do a criminal record check certificate. You need your health insurance. No travel insurance is accepted. You need proper health insurance. Gosh, medical certificate. Oh, you name it. You need it wherever you come in. Because don't forget now, we are British people I'm talking about, because of course we get lots of people. Everybody wants to come to Spain because it's a popular place to holiday, but also to live. But as far as British people are concerned now, whereas we were European before, and we came under the European rules, which, free movement, etc. Now we may as well be coming from, I don't know, Russia or Africa or anywhere else, because we're not part of Europe now. We might be very close geographically. We're part of Europe, but we don't come under the European laws, rules. So everything's much more complicated. So I think my answer to that first question, how much does it cost? I mean, it's difficult for me to give, and as I say, I would give, if any member wants to contact me and ask for an individual cost, under their circumstances, I would try my best to find out, especially for them. But just generally, I think you're looking at €40,000 for the first year, because you've got to show your income, as I say, you've got to show the money you've got in the bank, buy your health insurance. No, it's a lot of money, isn't it? Look, my dog's running around. So yeah, just to let you know that. Or the other thing, of course, you can do is just work within, if you've still got a property in the UK, so you can work in between the two properties, one in Spain, one in the UK. You just have to work within the rules of 180 days here, and then you can't come back for the next 180 days. But that's the laws that you have to work it under. Okay, so that's for question one. The second question that I was sent is, where is the best place to live in Spain? Now, Spain is a very big place. I'm going to put a map up, actually. I think people don't realise how big Spain is. I certainly didn't before I came here. Because, we tend to go... we go on holiday to Spain, don't we? And so we don't think of it. We go to the places we go to. Maybe you go to one of the Canary Islands. Maybe you go to Alicante. Maybe you go to Benidorm. Maybe you go to Barcelona or Madrid. Maybe you're more of a city person. But, there's all these. Let's see, is that a good one? Yeah, now Spain is divided up into communities. Let's have a look. So, I wonder if I can, yeah. So if we look at, these are the communities in Spain. So you've got the Canary Islands, which is like Tenerife, Lanzarote, etc. You've got the Balearic Islands. And then you've got mainland Spain, and they're all, so these are all what they call autonomous communities. So although Spain has Madrid is the capital of Spain, and that's where the main government is, but each of these communities have their own autonomous government as well. So, and they can make rules for their own, there's different rules in Valencia than there are in Murcia, for example. So you might think, well, if you're going to live in Spain, where's the best place to go? Should you go to the Canary Islands? Canary Islands is well known for nice weather, etc. Maybe Valencia, Alicante, Benidorm, that area, that's very well known for its weather. Or maybe you want a more city place like Murcia, where there's hardly any tourism. Or Andalusia, there is tourism in some parts and not in others. This is all these things that you have to take into account when you're thinking about where you want to live. So I would say, think about what you're looking for. Now, maybe you come out to Spain often on holiday. Maybe you've got a holiday home in Spain. Now, that not necessarily would be a place you would want to live. So you have to think about that. Don't look around for an area to live in Spain with your holiday head on. You have to put on your living head. You might love it when you come on holiday that you've got a villa right next to the pool and there's loads of kids in there for your kids to play with, blah, de, blah, de, blah. But you might not like that if you live here all the time, that there's that in the summer all these tourists descend on the area that you're living in, because maybe your villa is in a tourist area. And, although you want it that when you're on holiday, when you live here all year round, you don't want that. Believe me, it's like, you're looking for something completely different. If you buy a villa or an apartment next to a pool, it's going to be noisy. If you buy an apartment right near all the bars, that's great when you're on holiday because you don't have to get taxis. But if you're here living here and you're working and you've got to be up in the morning, etc., not so great. So you've got to think about that. What are you looking for? And are you looking for a Spanish experience living in Spain? Because a lot of people come to Spain. In my experience, it's people that moan about immigrants in the UK. They come to Spain, they live in expat enclaves. They call it expats, but they're immigrants just the same. Expat enclaves, they never speak to a Spanish person. They never go anywhere Spanish, because everything in that area is British or foreign of some kind, because there's not only British people, of course, in these areas. Is that what you're looking for? Maybe that suits you down to the ground, go into it so you just really like it, Britain in the sun, because you're living a British life, but you've got the nice weather rather than the awful winters, etc. If that's what you're looking for, I would recommend like Valencia, or any of the coastal areas, really. The Canary Islands, coastal areas seem to attract the most tourists. You're more likely to get people there who speak English. If you go, to be frank, if you go to Benidorm and you try and speak Spanish, they look at you as if you've fallen off planet Venus or something, because they're just not used to people speaking Spanish. So you've got to think about what you're looking for. Do you want the Spanish experience of living in Spain? Do you want a combination? To me, the perfect thing is a combination. Sometimes you want to go to a British bar, or go and do something British, go and have an English breakfast, or go and talk to people in English. Other times, it's nice to explore Spanish areas. It's nice to be able to speak Spanish and expand your horizons, not be scared of, oh God, I can't go there because they might not speak English. So you've got to weigh all that up. What are you looking for? And of course, some areas are cheaper than others, the more inland you go. For example, Murcia, if you go sort of inland from Murcia, like you've got the beaches here, they're expensive, of course, and they are. A lot of expats live there, but a lot of Spanish people have holiday homes there as well. But they tend to be from Madrid or whatever. So, these holiday places, they're not only foreigners go there. The Spanish come from Madrid or more landlocked sort of cities, and they come to the beach places, of course. So you will maybe a place where there's a lot of Spanish tourists. You've just got to put, the more inland you go, then you get less and less of this tourist lifestyle, if you like, less likely that people speak English. You do still get sort of expat enclaves, because it's human nature to want to live around people that are like you. This is what happens in Britain. We have to remember. Yeah, people always, oh, they don't integrate, or they don't do this. It's human nature to seek out people that you feel comfortable with when you're in a foreign country. So the what was I going to say? Oh, so the other thing is, if you go, it depends, what do you like the sun? Because you probably think, yeah, of course I like the sun. Why would I even be thinking that I would live in Spain if I didn't like the sun? But the problem is, how much do you like the sun? Because if you like it a little bit but not loads, you might not want to be in these very hot areas in the south, because believe me, the summer is not very nice. Not when you live here. You just don't enjoy it, because besides the weather, it's full of tourists as well. So, maybe the north will suit you better, Galicia, Asturias, etc., because the climate is less ferocious in the summer. Having said that, though, it's cold in the winter, so you're almost then just swapping one sort of miserable winter for another that might be slightly warmer, but a lot of rain in Galicia. But having said that, it's a very beautiful place there. The thing about workplaces where it rains a lot, they're always beautiful, aren't they? Because of the greenery, etc. So the north of Spain is much more beautiful, I think, than the south. Depends what you like. I like woods and things like that. Not, the beaches are lovely, don't get me wrong, but they're not my favourite thing. I'd rather go for a walk in the woods than a walk on the beach. But yeah, you've got to think about, what do you like doing? If you went to live in Galicia, as I say, it'd probably be in the winter pretty miserable. Maybe not quite as cold as in, say, the UK or other countries, but wet. Definitely rains a lot. It's famous for its rain, Galicia, and that's why it's such a very beautiful place. So that's what I would say to somebody asked me where's the best place to live. I think the area of Valencia, Alicante, because these are then divided into provinces. Alicante is a very popular place to live. It's a very reasonably priced place to live. So if you're looking at, you're thinking of how much it would cost you to live somewhere, you're better off Murcia, Valencia, etc. Of course, Madrid is a city. If you like cities, that's a nice place to live for people who like big cities, but it's very expensive. So, you've got I think these days people are having more freedom, aren't they, in where they go to live, because a lot of people work online these days. So technically they can really live anywhere, can't they? They can live anywhere and still work. Because what always traditionally the problem of living in Spain, it has always been finding work, well-paid work, because it's not, it's the wages aren't high. Sometimes people don't realize that they're not going to necessarily earn in Spain what they were earning in their own country. But of course, that nowadays doesn't make any difference. If you work online, you can work anywhere. So again, if you're a member and you want to ask me individually, tell me what you would like, and I will give you some advice on the best place that I think would suit you. But I'm just giving in these videos, unless a member asks me a specific question for them, I will be just giving general answers. Okay, and question number 3, do you need to speak Spanish? Well, I am a Spanish teacher, so I cannot say no. You don't need to learn Spanish. But actually, I can say no, you don't need to learn Spanish. You don't need to. You could live in Spain or most areas of Spain without speaking Spanish, without being able to speak Spanish. But what would your life be like? You'd be so restricted. This, if all you want is to come to Spain and, as I say, have Britain in the sun or whatever your country is in the sun, no, you can get by without speaking Spanish. Of course you can. Most places you go to, especially restaurants, anywhere you're buying something, somebody will speak English to you. The problem you're going to get is when you have a problem, when you have to go to the police, or when you have to go to the hospital, or when you have to go to the town hall. That's the time, they're the times where you're going to really struggle, or you're going to need an interpreter. So I think you have to think about that, because there are some times, let's say you're going to a hospital or to the doctors for something quite personal. You might not want to take an interpreter, but you'd have to, because otherwise, how are you going to explain to that doctor what's wrong with you? How are you going to get the proper treatment? It's not up to the doctor to be able to speak English unless you go to a private doctor. It's up to you. This is Spain, so the doctors, a lot of them do speak English, but they're not required to. And in fact, doctors have said to me they're told they shouldn't speak in English to their patients in case they get it wrong, because they could get sued. So if they say the wrong thing, so you've got to bear that in mind. Same with the police. You might be lucky and get a police person that speaks English. Some of them do, but they're not required to. They don't have to speak English. This is Spain. The other time, I think if you don't speak Spanish, it also does restrict your life, I think, because it makes you scared of going to places where you don't think people will speak English. So you're missing out on a lot of things, going to different places, having different experiences. So, as I say, some people will come to Spain, they only eat English food, they don't try Spanish food, they don't go anywhere Spanish. And at the end of the day, each to their own. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if you're a little bit more adventurous and you'd like to experience Spain, actually Spain, as opposed to, Benidorm or, Britain in the sun, or, not only Britain. I mean, it's not only Britain. I'm sort of feel like I'm giving British people a hard time. That's because I am British, but it's all different. Nationalities are the same. The whole of Europe, and in fact the whole of the world, wants to come to Spain. We've got Americans, we've got Canadians, Russians, Ukrainians, Swedish, Icelandic, French, German. Everyone wants to come to Spain because of the climate. That is what the biggest thing that Spain has got going for it, isn't it? So they're all the same. It's not only British people. There's a lot of different nationalities don't make an effort. But I have noticed that there's certain nationalities like Polish and Russian and etc. They do make an effort, because of course nobody speaks their language, do they? So we're a bit spoiled with English, because we know that English is probably the most widely spread language in the world. Spanish is a close second, though. Having said that, we know that, and so we sort of rely on that, don't we? We rely on the fact that people should speak English instead of, thinking, I'd like people to think first, trying Spanish first, then use English as a last resort, instead of use English first and use Spanish as a last resort. You're in Spain. It's, we could go through all the reasons to learn Spanish, and there are lots of them, and they're not all just to do with living. If you live in Spain, it's good for your brain. Learning languages is good for warding off senile dementia and things like that, Alzheimer's. Using your brain to learn a language is recognised as being good for that. So that's one reason, apart from anything else. Making your life easier in Spain, just being polite to at least learn something. I mean, not everybody's going to become, fluent in Spanish, but I think it is just good manners to try and learn some Spanish when you're living in a foreign country. Personally, that's what I think. And again, depending on which area you go to live in, sometimes you're better off going to live in an area that's not touristy at all, because you will have to speak Spanish there. You know, you can't, there's places you can go to, no good you speaking to them in English, because they'll just look at you, they won't know any English. Obviously, when you're on the coast and the tourist areas, they speak English because they're dealing with a lot of tourists all the time. And English is the universal language, because, you know, in this area or in these tourist areas, if you can speak English, it means you can speak to all the Scandinavians as well, and most of the other nationalities. So, you know, that is a priority for people who are doing business in the tourist areas. They need to be able to speak English. But when you go into the villages and more inland, they won't speak any English. And that's the best place for you to practice your Spanish. It might only be a 10-minute drive away. You know, quite often with my students, you know, on Mondays, I always say, oh, have you spoken any Spanish? And they go, no. I say, oh, well, where have you been? And they've been to all these English places, you know, or expat restaurants, you name it. They've not been anywhere Spanish. So, of course, they won't have had an opportunity. And they're living in Spain. But, you know, that's, if you live in a tourist area, you have to go out of your way to find somewhere to speak Spanish, unfortunately. But it won't be that far away. 10-15 minutes up the road, go a little bit inland, have a day out somewhere, go on a coach trip somewhere. Lots of different things you can do to there's always a way you can practice your Spanish. So I think my answer to that, do you need to speak Spanish, is no. You don't need to be able to speak Spanish, but it makes your life a lot easier. And as I say, it's when you come up against a problem. You know, people could live here for years, never have a problem going out to restaurants, shopping in the shopping centre, doing, you know, your normal things, not needing Spanish at all. And then, boom, one day they've got a problem with something, health problem, police problem, bureaucracy problem, because you do get more than a little bit of that here. All these problems that can come up. And then, boom, you need an interpreter, which is fine, but it's going to cost you money, of course. But apart from that, sometimes you might not want an interpreter. And I don't think you ever get the full story through an interpreter. You know, it's like, it's difficult. Interpreting is difficult. And I've seen good interpreters and bad interpreters. Hopefully I'm a good interpreter. I think I am. But sometimes if you have a Spanish interpreter, obviously they understand Spanish perfectly well, but I find they have problems in communicating it to you, what they want to say sometimes. So, you know, it's hard to find someone who knows enough Spanish to understand exactly what they're being told, but also enough English to be able to explain to you properly what it means, because it's always very confusing. You know, when you're dealing with bureaucracy here in Spain, it's not only the speaking Spanish, it's the way of dealing with people is completely different. So, you know, it's a bit of a minefield. But yeah, so you don't need, so my answer would be no, you don't need it. But at least the other thing is, of course, you'll get much better treatment if you at least try. I always find, and my students always say, and I always recommend to them, first thing you say when you go to speak to somebody Spanish, don't just go into English straight away. At least say, oh, hablo un poco español. You know, I speak a little bit of Spanish. You know, just make an excuse for your Spanish straight away. But and that I think you'll find then that if they know any English at all, they will then help you out. But whereas if you just go straight in, boom, with English and don't even attempt anything in Spanish, they can get quite irritated by that. And I know that for a fact. I've seen people do it. And also I know Spanish people who have told me that they do it on purpose. I knew a Spanish girl that I worked with years ago, and she did it deliberately. So if someone just came, she was English, which was half English. If somebody came up to her and spoke to her immediately in English, she would just pretend she didn't understand what they were talking about. Whereas if they made a little bit of an attempt in Spanish, she would, you know, she would then sort of speak to them in English. And it's funny because that's happened to me a few times. You go up to someone that looks Spanish, so you think, oh, they're Spanish, so I start talking to them in Spanish, and then they come back in like an accented English, like they're from bloody Yorkshire or somewhere, but they've maybe lived in Spain since they were kids. And it's quite funny when that happens, because happened the other day actually with a girl that I've been speaking to in Spanish for ages, and not even realizing that she must be half English, because when she spoke to me just the other day, she decided to speak to me in English. And it was I was just like taken aback, because it was real colloquial English. It wasn't a Spanish person speaking English. It was like an English person speaking English. And I thought, God, I've known this girl for about 3 years. And I never knew, because I've never spoken to her in English before. I never knew that she must be half English, or because her accent, she must have lived in England for a long time or something, because she had no Spanish accent whatsoever when she spoke in English. But I've been speaking to her in Spanish for years. So yeah, so that would be my answer there. Don't need to speak Spanish to live in Spain, but really it's advisable. So I've answered these 3 questions, hopefully. So the first one was, how much does residency cost? And we can see that really, if you're looking to become a resident in Spain, you need to be thinking really for the first year anyway, you need at least 40,000 euros really, or to show, not only for what you've got to pay someone to get your residency for you, which I would recommend, to be honest, but shop around, because not everyone, they seem to charge massive differences in prices. Those that I was looking at there, one was 450 euros they charged for one person, and another one was 150 euros. So that's a big difference, isn't it? I mean, if it's just like a difference of even 10 to 50 euros, but to be sort of 250 euros different, or 300 euros different. But anyway, sometimes you get what you pay for. You pay the more expensive person, you get a better service, a more personal service. So that's fair enough if you do get that. The problem is if you pay all that extra money and you don't get any better service than if you would have paid the 150 euros, so, and that's per person. So if you're a family, or a couple, you're looking at that per person, that's just for the application, someone to do the application for you. Then there's the money you've got to have in the bank, the income you've got to show coming in. You've got to take out an independent health policy, so there's a lot of that, and that, there's a lot to take. So I think really, it's such a shame. It's such a shame how we've lost this freedom of movement that we had. It's gone. Might come back one day, but not just yet, I suppose. And the next one was the best place to live. So remember, I was saying to you, it depends what you're looking for with your Spanish existence. Your Spanish, are you looking for somewhere are you looking to live in Spain, with a Spanish experience? Then you'd be better off the coast. Or are you looking to, live somewhere where everybody speaks English and all your neighbours are British or European and not Spanish? In that case, you want a coastal area more, places like Alicante, maybe Tenerife, Canary Islands, these places where there's a lot of expats, big expat communities. I mean, there are expat communities even in the smaller places. So I think even if you go a little bit off the beaten track, a bit more inland, if you go into Murcia or Pinoso, or I'm trying to think, Ondon, or there's, as I say, if you're a member and you let me know what you're specifically looking for, I can send you a list of places that might interest you, be more individual. But at the moment, I'm just talking generally to everybody. Are you looking for a place that's hot all the year round? Because if you are, then Alicante is a good place for that. Again, the Canary Islands seem to have the best of the weather. Or are you looking for somewhere maybe a bit cooler? Then you'd be going to the north of Spain where they have a more of a proper winter. Um, and then of course I've not talked really about going around sort of Malaga. Marbella, of course, is popular with Brits, isn't it? I can't imagine anything worse, to be honest, than Marbella. But you know, each to their own. It's a beautiful place. They're all beautiful places, but you just got to think, what do you want out of your Spanish experience? Are you coming out here to retire? Are you coming out here to work? Because the thing is, if you're coming out here to work, you need to be in a city. Otherwise you're going to find it very difficult to find work. Okay, so there you go. I hope I've answered everyone's questions. I'm just going to finish off by putting on my little video about my books. So remember, if you're wanting to learn Spanish, well, you can also always contact me. I do Zoom classes, one-to-one Zoom classes. So wherever you are in the world, you can learn Spanish with me. If you're interested, contact me and I'll send you the details. But also, I just want to show you these two little videos about the books I have on offer. Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Did you ever want to know a little bit more about me and my background, how I came to become interested in true crime, how I ended up in Spain being a Spanish teacher? If you want to know a little bit about me, a little bit more about me as a person, you can find my book, Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, on any Amazon site, wherever you live in the world. And I believe that everyone has a story to tell, and this is my story. So it's the story of how I grew up in Manchester in the UK on a council estate, and very humble beginnings, and my journey through personal tragedies, disastrous romances, and triumphs to become a single mum, a Spanish teacher, and an interpreter living in Spain, and eventually a YouTuber reporting on true crime. So it details my various experiences with people and places over 20 years of teaching, over 20 years now. Ooh, where did that go? Of teaching Spanish and interpreting through the backdrop of the recession, financial uncertainty, severe flooding, and living through COVID. I hope you will find it funny, sad, amazing, silly, serious, and stranger than fiction at times. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to make you angry at least once. I hope to make you cry at least twice, and I hope to make you laugh many, many times. So thank you for all your support on my YouTube channel, and if you want to know a little bit more about me as a person, then you can find out there. So thank you so much. Hola, soy Vicky. And are you wanting to learn Spanish? Have you been trying to learn Spanish and it's just you can't put the words together? Common thing that people say to me is, I know a lot of words, but I just can't put a sentence together. So I'm here to tell you how you can learn Spanish through English. Learn how to make sentences, not phrasebook Spanish. Learn how to ask questions, answer questions. Right from beginner or whatever level you are, if you're struggling in putting it all together, there'll be a level I can offer you a solution. So I've been teaching Spanish for over 20 years to English-speaking people. And these are the books that I have written. Break the Language Barrier Level 1 for beginners. Level 2 for intermediate or sort of pre-intermediate. Level 3 intermediate. Level 4 upper intermediate. And level 5 for advanced. There's really level 5 is to practice what you've already learned. So if you've already learned a lot of Spanish, but you want some practice with translations, conversation practice, games, etc., level 5 is for you. If you know more than level 1, in other words, you know how to already speak in the present tense, If your grammar has gone past the present tense but you're struggling with the past tenses, Level 2 is the book for you. All these books are available on Amazon. Any Amazon, wherever you are in the world that you want to learn Spanish, you can order one of my books from Amazon. The other thing you can do, you may be interested in Zoom classes. I've left my contact details here on the video so that you can WhatsApp me or email me if you want to know about Zoom classes and how they work. Or another way you can learn is, along with the book, have recorded classes to learn. So although we're not sort of face to face as we would be on a Zoom class, you can still ask me questions. You can watch the class, on the video, watch the class which goes with the book. All the books have everything is the classes. I can either teach you face to face like we're talking now in Zoom classes, or if either your budget doesn't run that far or you haven't got the time for Zoom classes, we can do it as a course where you get the book and you get the actual recorded classes, and you can learn in your own time, but you can still ask me questions by email, just not in the moment because it's not an actual one-to-one class, but you'll find that is reflected in the price. So if you want more details of how you can become better at Spanish, and remember, it's always progress, not perfection that we're looking for. Perfection is impossible. Believe me, if you're going for perfection, that's not going to happen for a long time, if ever. But communication, confidence, fluidity, all those add up to be fluency, don't they? Okay, so my books offer explanations in English, step-by-step, easy to follow grammar, gradual build of vocabulary and conversation skills, and all the answers are included, and you always have full internet backup. In other words, you can always email me or WhatsApp me a question and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, so what are you waiting for? If you want to learn Spanish, don't hesitate. Okay, gracias y hasta pronto.